Have you ever watched someone in their late 70s do the exact same thing at the exact same hour every single evening for 40 years and wondered what that kind of stillness does to a mind? 7:30 on a quiet street in Kanazawa. A retired schoolteacher sits at a low table under a single warm lamp, a sheet of rice paper in front of him, a brush in his right hand. He dips it, presses it to the paper, and watches a character appear, wet and black, one stroke at a time. He is 79. He has done this since he was 38. Most of us assume staying sharp past 65 takes effort. Brain games, crossword books, maybe a supplement with a bold label and a vague promise. But in Japan, where life expectancy hovers around 84 years and more than 90,000 people have passed 100, almost nobody talks about training the brain. They talk about the evening, what they do between dinner and sleep. And here's the thing. None of what you're about to hear costs money. None of it requires equipment or a new hobby. 10 small evening habits, most of them older than anyone alive, and any one of them could start tonight. The first one begins at the table. 1. The light evening meal. In a small kitchen in Naha, Okinawa, a couple in their 70s sit down to dinner at 5:30. 6 small plates on a tray, and every one of them would fit in your palm. A square of grilled fish, pickled radish, steamed greens, a bowl of rice no bigger than a teacup, a cup of miso with 3 slices of tofu floating in it. That's dinner. Most of us eat our heaviest meal at 7 or 8, then sit down for 3 hours and wonder why sleep won't come. They eat early, they eat light, and they stop before they feel full, a practice they call hara hachibu, which means eat until you're about 8 parts full, then set down the chopsticks. The stomach isn't stuffed. The body doesn't have to work all night to process what came in at 9, and the woman who arranged those 6 plates, she grew half the vegetables herself. But that part of the story comes later. 2. The evening walk. Most of us haven't taken a walk without a destination since we were children. We drive to the store, we drive to the mailbox. If we do walk, we call it exercise and strap a counter to our wrist. Now, picture a street in Kyoto just before dusk. A man in his early 80s walks the same route he has walked for 30 years. Past the post office, past the shuttered tofu shop, down the hill to the bridge, across it, and back along the canal. 20 minutes, no podcast, no step counter, just the weight of his own feet on the pavement, and the sky turning from pale blue to copper. He passes a neighbor watering a row of eggplant and raises one hand without stopping. He doesn't call this a walk. The walk isn't separate from the evening. The walk is how the evening begins. And that difference between something you schedule and something your day already holds might be the whole point. They don't try harder than we do. They've built the walking into the shape of the day. 3. The deep bath. In a farmhouse in Nagano, after the dishes are put away, you can hear water filling a deep tub. Not a shower, not a quick rinse before bed. A bath so hot it turns the skin pink, deep enough to cover the shoulders, held for 15 to 20 minutes. A woman of 83 lowers herself in at the same hour every night. She doesn't rush, the water does the work, her hands float, her neck loosens, her breathing slows without her deciding to slow it. Most of us shower in 6 minutes, standing up, thinking about tomorrow. She sits in hot water and thinks about nothing. Japan has one of the highest rates of daily bathing in the world, and the O-Fu-Ro tradition runs back centuries. You wash before you get in. The bath itself isn't about cleaning. It's a threshold, the line between the active day and the still night. She doesn't soak because she read about it. She soaks because her mother did, and her grandmother before that, and because the evening doesn't feel finished until the water cools. 4. A tactile hobby. When was the last time you made something with your hands in the evening? Not typed, not scrolled, not clicked. Made. In Kanazawa, the school teacher from the beginning of this video rinses his brush, blots it on a cloth, and sets it beside the inkstone. The character he just painted sits drying under the lamp. 41 years of evenings at this table. The phone charges in another room. The television stays off. His hands know the weight of the brush the way a pianist's fingers know the keys. Not because he practiced hard, but because he never stopped. Across Japan, retired men and women keep decades-long hobbies alive. Calligraphy, pottery, flower arranging, woodblock carving. The hands stayed busy, and the mind follows the hands. Imagine sitting down tonight, no screen in front of you, and picking up one thing, a pencil, a deck of cards, a piece of knitting, and staying with it for 20 minutes. Nothing to finish, nothing to post, just the feel of the thing in your hands and the quiet that comes with it. 5. Setting out tomorrow. Here's a small one, easy to miss and easy to start tonight. In Osaka, a grandmother of 76 lays out her clothes for the next morning. Every night, same spot, same routine. Trousers folded on the chair, blouse on the hanger. Socks tucked into her shoes by the genkan, the entryway where you leave the outside world at the door. Across Japan, this habit runs through generations. Set out what tomorrow needs before you sleep. The clothes, the bag, the umbrella if rain is coming. In the morning, you don't decide. You dress. The evening version of you made the choice, and the morning version just follows through. Most of us fall asleep with tomorrow scattered across 6 open tabs in our heads, replaying a mental list we'll forget by sunrise. She puts 3 minutes into the evening so the morning starts clean. No planner, no app, just a pair of shoes with the socks already inside them. And the next one sits waiting in the kitchen. 6. Green tea at the low table. Not coffee, not a nightcap, not a glass of water gulped standing at the sink. A cup of green tea, brewed weak, poured slow, held in both hands. In a kitchen in Nagano, 4 neighbors sit around a kotatsu, a low-heated table with a blanket draped over it to keep the warmth in. Same 4 women, same evening, once a week since 2 of them retired. The tea itself matters less than the pace it sets. You pour, you wait, you drink without hurrying. The conversation moves at the speed of the tea, not the other way around. No agenda, no catching up, just the warmth of the cup and the sound of someone else breathing nearby. Most of us drink our last drink of the day alone, standing in the kitchen, scrolling through a phone. They sit on the floor, face to face, with nothing between them but a teapot and 40 years of Tuesdays. They don't call it a ritual. They call it Tuesday, and the fact that they have done it long enough to stop noticing might be the part that matters most. 7. The quiet hour. 8:30 in a living room in Kyoto. A couple in their early 80s sit on the floor at a low table a few feet apart. She reads. He folds a cotton cloth into a pouch for a grandchild's birthday. The television has been off since dinner. The room is so still you could hear a page turn from the hallway. Most of us spend the last 2 hours before sleep lit up by a screen, the phone 3 inches from the face, the TV running something we're not really watching. Not because we chose it, because we never chose anything else. Here's the question worth sitting with. What fills the space when the screen goes dark? Something has to. In Japan, particularly among older people in smaller towns, the answer is almost never nothing. The answer is the tea, the cloth, the brush, the book, the letter being written by hand to a friend 2 towns over. The hands stay busy, the eyes rest on something close and still, and the mind, left without a feed to scroll, finds its own speed. They don't avoid screens because they distrust them. They just filled the evening before the screen arrived and never saw a reason to rearrange. So what would you fill yours with if you turned the screen off tonight and sat with whatever came next? So far, every habit on this list happens inside the house. The next one goes outside, and it might be the most important one of all. 8. Hands in the evening garden. There's a man in Osaka, 86 years old. Every evening around 5:30, before the light leaves, he walks out the back door, kneels on a folded towel beside a raised bed, no wider than a dining table, and puts his hands in the soil. He pulls 3 weeds, he checks the tomatoes, he pinches a dead leaf off a cucumber vine, and turns the stem so the fruit faces the last of the sun. 15 minutes, maybe 20. His knees creak when he stands, his fingernails carry dirt to the bath. But here's the thing, and this is the piece most people miss. The garden isn't about the food. The food matters, and it ends up on those small plates you saw at the start. Remember the woman in Naha who grew half her dinner? It started here, in the soil, on her knees. But the garden is about more than the harvest. It's about kneeling and standing, about watching something grow across weeks, not seconds, about making a decision with your hands. This vine stays, this one goes. That requires looking, remembering, and judging, all at once, in real time, without a screen telling you how. Researchers who study the world's longest-lived communities keep finding the same thing. The people who stay sharpest aren't solving puzzles, they're tending something alive. A garden, a grandchild, a friendship. When was the last time you knelt in the dirt and watched something you planted push through the surface? Not last year, this week. 11 pages. A shopkeeper's wife in Naha lies on her futon with a paperback novel resting on her chest. She reads every night. Not on a tablet, not on a phone. A physical book, one she has been working through for 3 weeks, 11 or 12 pages at a time. She doesn't finish a book a week. She doesn't track what she reads or recommend it to anyone. She just picks up where the bookmark sits and reads until her eyes get heavy. Here's a number worth knowing. Japan buys more books per person than nearly any country on Earth, and its used book industry fills entire multi-story buildings in Tokyo alone. Reading never fell out of the culture the way it drifted in ours. The book on her chest moves at her speed, not the speed of a feed. The page doesn't refresh. The story doesn't interrupt itself with a notification. And when her eyes close, the last thing her mind held was a sentence someone chose with care, not a headline engineered to keep her awake. 10. The futon ritual. This is the last habit, and the quietest one. In a tatami room anywhere in Japan, a futon gets pulled from a closet, unfolded, and laid flat on the floor, a cotton cover smoothed by hand. A buckwheat pillow set in place. The room is already dark except for one small lamp. In the morning, the futon goes back into the closet, the floor opens up, and the room belongs to the day again. Sleep isn't something that happens wherever you collapse. Sleep has its own shape. You build it. You lay it out. You step into it on purpose. Most of us fall asleep on the couch with the television still talking, or in a bed we never made, with the phone still glowing on the nightstand. The futon asks you to decide. The act of unfolding it, spreading the sheet, placing the pillow is the act of saying, the day is done. Not scrolling to the end of one more thread, not half watching one more episode. Done. Hands on cotton, lamp off. There's something in that small physical act that tells the mind what no alarm and no pill ever could. We're finished. We did enough. Tomorrow we start again. And maybe that is what keeping the mind sharp really comes down to. Not training it, not tricking it, just giving it a clear, quiet signal that the day had a shape, and the shape is complete. Let's walk back through them. A light meal, finished early, a walk with no destination, a bath deep enough to cover the shoulders, something made with the hands, tomorrow's clothes laid out tonight, a cup of tea poured slow, a quiet hour with no screen, a garden tended at dusk, a few pages of a real book, and a bed you build with your own hands every night and put away every morning. None of it costs anything. None of it requires willpower or discipline or starting over. People in Japan don't do these things because they're trying to stay sharp. They do them because this is what an evening looks like when no one ever redesigned it for speed. Remember the school teacher in Kanazawa? The brush, the rice paper, the single lamp. His mind stays clear at 79, and he has no theory about why. He just does what the evening asks. One stroke, then another, Then the brush goes in the water, and the day is done. You don't need all 10. Pick one. Try it tonight. Turn one screen off and pick one thing up. If one of these made you think of someone you care about, send them this video. If it was worth your time, the like button tells me to make more like it. And if you want to see what a 93-year-old woman in Okinawa eats for breakfast, and why most of it fits in a single bowl, subscribe. That one's coming next. Somewhere in Kanazawa, the lamp clicks off, the brush is dry, the futon is laid, and a man who has done this 10,000 times is already asleep. The last character he painted still drying on the table in the dark.